Vijaya Kumar for giving.
It's now being recorded.
What? Can you hear me? Can you hear my
Yes.
voice? Okay, thank you very much again to the Professor Dr. Vijaya Kumar for giving a brief introduction about myself. So now, can I start uploading the slide now?
Okay, sir, sure.
Okay. Okay, Prof, can you see my slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
It is visible. Okay.
Okay, can I start now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Here is good afternoon, 1:30 p.m.
Good afternoon, sir.
Very good afternoon, sir.
Good morning. In Vietnam, it's 10:30 in the morning.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How are you?
Fine, sir. Fine.
Fine. I hope all of you are good. I hope all of you are good. And then, first of all, I would like to say thank you to Sri Ramakrishna Institute of Technology, especially to the respected Professor Dr. Paul Raj, the principal of STREET or Ramakrishna Institute of Technology. Is it correct if I pronounce
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
The management of STREET and also all the lecturers. Then thank you for inviting me to share my experience of supervising final year projects, or in specifics, how to do the innovate design and implementation of a final year project. And then I really appreciated it for the invitation. And so this is the title given to me after several discussion with Prof. Vijaya Kumar, innovate design and implementation it to the final year project. Okay, so before I go further, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Wan, and my colleagues or my student call me Dr. Wan, and then I'm the associate professor at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering Technology under a Mechatronics Engineering Department. So our Faculty of Electrical Engineering Technology has several departments, and one of them is a Mechatronic Engineering Department, and I'm the associate professor there. From a university, Malaysia, Perlis, and then I got my bachelor degree, BEng from Yamaguchi University, Japan, in 1999, and then I graduated my PhD, a doctoral degree, also from Japan, which is from Kagawa University in 2009. Right? Okay, and then before we go to a specific title, Innovate Design of Final Project, I would like to introduce you where is University Malaysia Perlis located. So if you see at the slide, this is a peninsula of Malaysia. This is a peninsula of Malaysia, and our university located at the north of the peninsula. I put the red circle there. So this is our locations in the Perlis state. We are border to the Thailand, close to the Thailand, the north part of the peninsula. So this is the state where University Malaysia Perlis located. Okay, and then if you want to come to University Malaysia Perlis, you have two options. First, from India, take a flight, you can go to the Pulau Pinang, and then use ground transport, or to Perlis state, or from India, you can go to Kuala Lumpur. Kuala Lumpur, and from Kuala Lumpur, you can use flight, airplane, and then go to Kedah, and then from Kedah, use a ground transport to Perlis. So you have 2 ways to go to reach University Malaysia Perlis in Perlis state. So this is introduction about the location of the University Malaysia Perlis. And then this is I want to share with you a photo of our university. And then the above figure, you can see it's not yellow, the brown building is a library. It's a library. And then the below one, this is the entrance. This is not the main entrance, but we only have one entrance now. The main entrance still in the construction. We use this entrance to go to the campus. The first photo is the building of our university, and then the below one is the entrance. It's not the main entrance. The main entrance is still under construction. Okay, so I would like to share with you all. The title of final year projects, which is under my supervision. This is the first one is EG quantitative analysis for emotion recognitions by using EG epoch emotive. So in this project, we use EG device to capture or to collect data from brain, which is a brain signal. And then from there, we try to recognize the emotion of a person. And in this project, we are trying to recognize the emotion of stroke patient. Okay? And then this is the second one, investigation of driver eyes closeness for the application of drowsiness detection. And then this is the title of our final year project. And then in this project, we use camera as a vision sensor. First, to detect the face of the driver. After detecting face of the driver, we try to detect eyes of the driver. And then we do the analysis by detecting the closeness of the eyes. And then from there, we do a decision whether the state of the driver, whether in the drowsiness state or not. So this is the second example of the project under my supervision at the undergraduate level, final year project level. And then this is the last one. The last one is evaluation of hand speed, movement in upper limb stroke based on home environment virtual reality games. So in these projects, we design virtual reality games in home environment for the stroke patient to do the rehabilitation. Then the rehabilitation is focused on upper limb management. You know, because current practice of the stroke patient in a week, they have to do the rehabilitation 3 times. And in Malaysia, each time the cost is about $25 US. So you can imagine that in a week they have to do the rehabilitation 3 times, 25 for each time times 3, $75 per week to pay it to the therapist for the rehabilitation, for the stroke rehabilitation. And then some of them stay at a distance from the rehabilitation center. So they have to go to the rehabilitation center 3 times a week. Another thing is they have to pay for the traveling cost also for the rehabilitation. But by using this, the proposed system, we install the device at their home, and then they can do rehabilitation by themselves. Okay? But of course, it has a function so that the result of the rehabilitation, they can send it to the therapist or to the medical officer for the monitoring. So I gave you 3 examples of the projects, our title, final year projects under my supervision. So this is only the example. The main thing is how to design the final year projects, how to design and innovative final year project. So this is the main content that we want to discuss in this lecture. Okay, this is the photo of this project, evaluation of hand-speed movement in upper limb stroke-based on home environment virtual reality games. This is the environment. You see here, this is subjects, and then we do investigation by using Kinect. We use Kinect sensor to detect hand movement, and then at the same time, the subjects are playing the games. Okay. So we are now in the main topics. How to do the innovate design of the final year projects. How to do innovate design of the final year projects, and where to start designing it. And at our college, final year projects, students do a final year project after they enter the final year, the 4th year. At the fourth year, they have 2 semesters. The first semester, they do planning. They design the final year projects. Then a second semester, after coming a second semester, they start to implement it. Okay? They start to do the experiment. They start to do the data collection. They start to collect data. They start to do the analysis. They start to draw the conclusion, whether the project achieved or not, as they proposed it in the first semester. This is the practice at our college, at our faculty, at our department. Final year student, they have 2 semesters. The first semester, they have to do the proposal. They have to design the project. They have to do the proposal. And then at the end of the first semester, we evaluate them. They have to present it to us. We evaluate them whether their proposal has the design element or not. Whether their hypothesis is correct or not. Okay. Whether their objective is could be achieved or not. Whether the most important thing is whether their defined problem is correct or not, is enough or not, is a real problem or not. Okay, and then in the second semester they start to implement it. They start with the experiment. They start with the data collection. They start with the evaluation, draw a conclusion, and again they have to present the finding to the panel that we point. Okay. So this is the flow of the final year project, the implementation or practice at our faculty. Okay, how to design the final year project and where to start it. So this is the question when students enter a final year. They always think how to design the final year project and where to start. So I will guide you the practices at our faculty. Okay. So the design process, to design the innovative projects, the design process actually is under a research methodology. So you have to know research method first. You have to know what is the research methodology so that you can do an innovate project. You can design an innovative project. And then under research methodology, it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phases. The first phase is analysis. You have to do the analysis. What is the analysis? Later on, we will discuss. And then also you have to do the hypothesis space. After analysis, you have to do the hypothesis space. And number 3, you have to plan your research planning. What to do first, what to do next, what to do next, and so on. And then number 4, you have to design the experimental design. Why experimental design is important? Because you want to verify the hypothesis is correct or not. All the hypotheses need to be verified, need to be validated by the experimental design. And then the last one is validations. Okay? In the experimental design, you obtain the results, and then you try to do a conclusion based on the obtained results. You have to compare back to your objective, whether your objective is achieved or not. Okay? And then the result need to be validated. Who will validate your result? Probably your supervisor. Okay? And then after you presented it to the panel will validate your results. At the FYP level, at the undergraduate level, panels, evaluation, and supervisor is enough. But for the higher level, for the master level, for the PhD level, how to validate your result, how to validate your investigation, you need to publish it to the journal, for example. You need to present it to the conference so that the audience, the conference will validate your result, whether your result is okay or not. And in terms of journal, if the journals accept your publication, means that your result is okay. So remember, in the research methodology, it has 5 phases: analysis, hypothesis, research planning, experimental design, and validation. We will go one by one. And then before I go further, I think Prof. Wijaya Kumar, are you there? Okay. I think my lecture will take about 1 hour. 1 hour.
Yes, sir.
I forgot to.
No problem, sir. You can proceed.
Okay. I try to
Time
finish.
is not constrained. No problem.
I tried to finish it before 2. I had tried to finish it before 2, before 3 a.m. Before 3 p.m. Malaysia time.
No issues, sir. No issues.
Okay, now we go one by one to the analysis space. In the analysis space, first, the question is, what is the research problem? So we need to have a research problem to solve. And how to identify the research problem? You have to do the literature search. You have to do the literature review. You have to read the material or the article published by the previous researchers for you to identify the research problem. And if you wrongly identify the research problem, means that your hypothesis is not correct, your experimental design also is not correct, and your result also is not correct. So that's why research problem is very, very important. And then any related work means that where to find the article for you to identify the research problem. Of course, you have to do the critical search. You have to read the article from published by the previous researcher. And where to find the related works. Where to find the related works. The related works here means that the articles, where to find it. You can find it from publication database, for example, IEEE Explore, Explorer, or you can find it in the Elsevier, and you can also find it in using Google to find it. Okay, so this is the place that you can find the related works or the article published by the previous researcher. So the last one is, what is the objectives of research? Okay, what is the objective of research? Of course, you can design the objective of research by following the problem that you want to solve. Okay, so that's why again I want to tell you that the problem statement is very important. So if you wrongly identify the problem, means that you create or you design a wrong objective. So this is the analysis phase. Okay, to conduct analysis. Analysis, this statement has come from Google, a systematic examination and evaluation of data or information by breaking it into component parts to uncover their interrelationship. So this is a definition of the analysis. We see the analogy. For example, the analogy of analysis here. First, when car breaks down, so first you have to study what is the symptom before the breakdown. Okay, and then if you know the symptom, you need to read the manual to try to solve the problem. Even though it has a manual and then you read a manual, but you still cannot solve it. So you have to call your friend who knows about the car, and if your friend cannot help you, you have to call a workshop. So this is an example analogy of analysis. Okay, this example analogy of analysis. We see the second example of analysis, development of autonomous vehicle. The first analysis, first is you have to identify the type of the vehicle that you want to investigate. Type of vehicle, and then second, search the existing mathematical model. You must know the existing mathematical model of the vehicle because there are so many models of the autonomous vehicle, and then you have to determine the number of sensor used. Okay. Next, study the existing control method. Okay. Then the last one is search for the experimental protocol. So this is example of the analysis. Okay, analogy is analogy, and then under research methodology, we are talking about how to do the analysis for you to design a good proposal for the final year project. And under the analysis phase, it has a step. This is what I always share with my students for them to produce a good FYP or final year project proposal. In analysis phase, it has step 1, 2, and 3. Step 1 is you have to describe the problems, describe the research problem. Step 2 is investigate the related works. And then step 3 is design the objective. So under analysis phase, this is the 3 steps that you need to do. And then this is very important for you to produce a good research proposal. Why? If you produce a good research proposals, means that in the second semester, in the first semester you are producing a research proposal. In the second semester, if your research proposal is good, then in the second semester, the experiment that you will design also good. The result that you will obtain is also good, and then the conclusion that you draw is also good. You write a report or thesis, your thesis will become a good thesis. So that's why analysis phase is very important. So if your problem statement is not good, so mean that your objective also not good, and the experimental that you design also not good, the result that you obtain also not good, and then lastly, the thesis that you produce also is not good thesis. So if your thesis is not good, means that you cannot get a good grade for the final year project. Okay, in the analysis phase, it has 3 steps. The first one is describe the research problem. Okay, how to describe the research problem? I mentioned to you before. You have to do the literature search. PS is a problem statement. You have to do the literature search. You have to read the articles published by the previous researcher. You have to analyze the finding from the articles. And step 2, you have to investigate related work. So this is the literature review. And up is a literature review. You have to conduct a good literature review. And then the last one, step 3 in the analysis phase, is to design the objectives of research. Okay, the purpose of research objective is to solve the problem that you have identified in step 1. And how to identify the problem is a step 2. You have to do a literature search. You have to do a reading. You have to read the articles. And then after reading the articles, you have to design the research objective. OBJ is a research objective. Then for the final year projects, the maximum research objective for me is maximum is 3. Maximum is 3. 2 is enough. 2 enough. Maximum is 3. Is 3, and 1 objective is not enough. So you can choose whether you want to produce 2 or 3 research objectives. Okay. So describe the problem. Where to find the problem? You are now in the final year. You want to start your final year projects. So first thing that you have to do is you have to describe the problem. So where to find the problem? The problem could be found from the literature search, from the article published by the previous researcher. It's not good if you find the problem from a magazine, for example. You find a problem from the YouTube channel, for example. You find a problem from the magazine, YouTube channel, or from the Google. It's not good. So the source of the problem statement, you must read the article from journals or conference proceedings. What else? Okay. And then what seemed to be the problem also must come from the literature search, must come from the journal paper, must come from the previous final year project report. Okay? Or must come from your supervisor for the final or the undergraduate levels. Okay? And then source of the problem, of course, journals. The best one is journals. A good journal could be the best sources of problem. And a conference proceeding, a good proceeding could be the best source of the problem. Technical papers or articles, article or technical papers, past year FYP report, and your supervisor. So this is the good source of material or article for you to identify a problem. Don't find the problem from YouTube channels or from a magazine or from blogs. Okay? Not try to find a problem from the YouTube channel, from the blogs, for example, or from the magazine. Okay. Then after do reading the article from a good sources, like journals, conference proceedings, or from the previous FYP report, or from discussion with your supervisor, and how to do the analysis of the information. You got a lot of information now. What to do next? How to analyze it? And then this is the example. Example I want to share with you by creating a summary table. You create a summary table and tabulated all information onto that table. In this example, the research topic is measurement of body movement. So you want to conduct research on measurement of body movement. And then the keywords for this research is sensors. What type of sensors that you want to use, for example. And then you're also thinking about the classifier, probably because you try to classify the body movement, you want to use a classifier. For example, what kind of movement, and then you will use classifier to identify it. And then patterns means probably pattern here is the signal pattern. The signal pattern, and then the subject, how many subjects that you want to use in the investigation. So this is a keywords, and then the research topic is measurement of body movement. I take one example. The keyword that you want to use is sensor. So you want to identify what kind of sensor that you want to use in the investigation. Okay? What kind of sensor that you want to use in the investigation. And again, I want to remind you that the problem or the information that the information sources, the good information sources is from a journal or from a conference proceeding. Do not use information sources from YouTube channel or Google or blogs. Okay? Okay, we go the first example, sensor. So now you want to identify what kind of sensor that you want to use. For example, you create a summary table. First column is you write it as a year. Okay? The published year. Year means that when the article is published. Year. An example here is 1960, 1980, and 2000. The second column is a researcher who published the articles. For example, in 1960 is one, and his team. 1980 is Nazrul et al. Means that Nazrul and his research member. And then in 2000, Nazri et al. Nazri and his research member. So you create another column, and another column is type of sensor used. The first type of sensor is a flexible band, and the second type of sensor is a force sensor, and then the third type of sensor is an optical sensor. You see from the table, all of the researchers, these three researchers use flexible band. Maybe it has the advantage of why they choose to use a flexible band. And then for the force sensor, only 1980 and 2000, Nazrul and Azri et al. Use a force sensor. But for the optical, only Azri used the optical. And then you can define that optical sensor as a problem, as one of the problem in this research. Why not many researchers use it? Probably because the optical sensor has the disadvantage. Okay? So you want to challenge, you want to improve the capability of the optical sensor to be used as a sensor for the measurement of body movement. So now you already identified that sensor type is one of the problems, and then you want to use optical sensor to improve the measurement of the body movement. So this is the example how to analyze data from literature review, from reading a lot of articles from the literature review. Okay. And then this is the second example. For example, the use of filter. And now again, you are still in the project of measurement of body movement. And the next thing is the selection of filter. Again, you can do a summary table, and this is the example on the first column is a year where the article is published, when the article is published, and then the second column is a researcher who are the author, and then the third column is a type of filter, Gaussian filter. Next, Butterworth filter, and then the last one is a median filter. Again, you try to investigate it, you try to analyze it. You see that all of the researchers use Gaussian filter in their investigation. And then only one researcher in 1960 used Butterworth filter. Maybe it has a problem with the Butterworth filter. Because of that, there are not so many researchers, only one researcher use it. Probably because of its capability, cannot produce a good result. So we take this as a challenge. Because only one researcher, we want to improve the capability of the Butterworth filter so that the accuracy of the accuracy of measuring movement of the body could be improved. Okay, so we choose Butterworth filter. We challenge that Butterworth filter and identify it as a problem. Okay, so based on these two summary table, we know that the first problem is regarding optical sensor type. We choose optical, and then the second problem is the selection of filter. Okay? So we challenge to improve the capability of the Butterworth filter for higher accuracy. Okay? this is the summary table is only the example on how to conduct the analysis to determine the problem. And there are so many methods that you can use to do the analysis, to identify the problem. And summary table is one of them. And then it's up to you actually, if you want to use another method, you can use it. The main purpose is you can identify what is the problem of the research. Okay. Then after identify the problem, you have to write the problem statement. Okay. I do not know in India, but in Malaysia, at our faculty, problem statement, students write a problem statement in the first chapter, in the introduction, the first chapter, student has to write a problem statement. And then the problem statement need to be presented to the evaluation panel in the first semester. So problem statement, yes, at our faculty, one of the big, not issue, one of the criteria that the evaluation panel always see it. Because why? We want to make sure that the student identify a real problem, a real research problem. We will approve it if their problem statement is correct, so that they can proceed with the second semester with the experimental design, collecting data, and then do a decision. So write a problem statement, and how to write the problem statement. This one is also one of the issue writing the problem statements. To write a problem statement, you can write it, each problem, write it in the, it's my suggestion, you write it in a paragraph, in one paragraph. Then must start with the background of the problem. Must start with the background of the problem. You write what is the problem, and then you write the proposed solution in general. For each problem, you write it in one paragraph. Start with the background of the problem, and what is the problem, then the proposed solution in general. And at our faculty, the problem statement is in chapter 1. So this is the comment panel for the problem statement. The first comment, this is the comment. The problem contain not related information. Okay, the problem contain not related information. If look at the title, there is no relation with the problem statement that the student write. So that's why the problem contain not related information. Presentation of problem statement too brief, too generals, not technical. Too generals, not technical. This is also not good. And then this is a common mistake doing by the student, because they presented it, the problem statement, they present the problem statement, their problem statement is too brief, too short, too brief. It's not technical. Then the problem statement does not support the title of the research. Of course, if we read the title and then read the problem statement, there is no relations. We cannot find the relation between title and problem statement. Also, it's not good. Then the last one, the problem statement does not support the objective of research. Yes. Okay. If we look at the problem statement and then look at the research objective, there is no relation. So this is not good example of problem statement. And then in the analysis space, as I mentioned to you earlier, the first is conduct analysis. The first is, I cannot remember the first. The first is a describe problem. The second one is investigate related works. I will go faster this step 2 because we already discussed about literature review before. Investigate what has been done before. Investigate related works means that conducting literature review. Investigate what has been done before. Why? Because we do not want you to reinventing the wheels. You do the same thing with the previous researcher. So this is one reason why you need to do a proper literature review, why you need to do a proper literature search, because we don't want you to reinventing the wheels. We don't want you to do the same what the previous student did. Okay? So that's why literature review is very important. Okay? Investigate related work or conducting literature review. So how to investigate it? How to investigate it? Typically from literature researchers. Okay? Typically from the literature review conducted. You can find the articles, the research material, either printed version or online version. It's up to you. And recently, we do not. The university or library, I think they purchase the articles online, like IEEE database, Explore, IEEE Explore, or Severe. You can search the materials, the research materials, online version, better to use online version, or you can use Google, because some researcher, they have a good research article, they publish it, they upload it to their blog, for example, a lecturer or researcher, so you can find the article free. Or we have ResearchGate. ResearchGate also a platform that the researcher promote their research activity, and some of them upload the research article there. So you can download the article free. Okay? And then this is the example sources or database for you to find the research article, IEEE Explore. You can find it from the IEEE Explore or Sign Direct, Elsevier. And then many papers which is upload under this database. Many good papers uploaded under this research database, IEEE Explore and Sign Direct. We call it as a publication database. Okay, and the last one, the last step in analysis space is to design the research objective. To design the research objective, and I think I don't know whether you know or not about the SMART criteria, SMART. SMART criteria is the criteria that we use to design the research objective. And use this SMART criteria. S is a specifics. Your research objective must be specifics. And then your research objective must be measurables. Attainables. A is attainable. R is realistic, and T is a time frame. So use a SMART criteria for you to design the research objective. And then for the first year student or second year student, or third year student, for third year student next year, when you enter fourth year, and when you want to start the final year project, please try to search or Google SMART criteria, then design the research objective. Make sure that your objective is specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time frame. I share with you the example of a good research objective. Okay, this is a good example of a research objective. And then I want to remind you that research objective is very important. One of the main criteria or features of the report or a final year project thesis that the examiner, the evaluation panel, always see is the research objective, whether your research objective is okay or not. And here is the good example. First is to analyze the emotional state of the left and right brain stroke affected patient by applying neural network algorithm for emotion classification. From the first objective, the one that form the color form, the red color form, analyze is the features. Why I want to highlight it? Because this is the terms or the keywords to show that the objective is measurable or not, to analyze. And then based on the analysis, we can do the based on the analysis, we can draw the conclusion. So that's why one of the criteria of SMART is measurable. And analyze means that the objective could be, the objective is measurable to analyze. So please use a proper keyword. And then number 2 is to investigate the nonlinear features from EG frequency sideband signals. So why? Again, I highlight the terms investigate, because investigate could be measured. It's measurable. Based on the result of the investigation, we could draw the conclusion. So that's why I highlight the importance of the terminology or the keywords that you will use in the research objective. Investigate. And then again, to investigate, I think I will not comment on this because this is the same example as the previous research objective. We see the last one, to design the upper limb movement sequence by using non-immersive virtual reality game. So again, why design? Design because design is measurable. You can measure the design process, you can measure this design process, and then you can draw the conclusion. So that's why choosing or using the appropriate terms in the research objective is very important so that your research objective could be measured. So one of the criteria of SMART is measurable. And then this is the not good example of the research objective, to collect, for example, or to study. You cannot, to collect, you can collect data, but how to measure it? It's not technical. It's not technical. You cannot measure the terms collect. Also goes to the to study. You can study the upper limb movement and how to measure it technically. Cannot. You can study it. Probably you can. How to show the result of your study? Probably it can be measured, but it's not technical. For example, how many papers that you read, for example, how many papers related to this project that you have read. You can write the results, but it's not technical. So this is not good example of research objective. Do not use the terms to collect or to study. Use a proper terms like to investigate, to design, to analyze, or to characterize, or to, okay, so please use a proper terms for you to design the research objective. Okay. And then this is one example which is not good, to conduct literature study for speed and steering angle of fuzzy control for fast tracking. So, cannot be a research objective to conduct literature study. It's not good. Cannot be a research objective because all the FYP student, all the FYP project, the student has to do the literature study or literature review or literature search or critical review, all are the same thing. So this is not good example of objective. Okay, as a conclusion, in the objective phase, first is to identify the research problem. And if your research problem is good, means that your objective is also good, your hypothesis is also good, and your experimental is also good, your draws conclusion is also good, and your report or your thesis is good. To design the research objective, yes, if you have a good research objective or clear research objective by following SMART criteria, means that your hypothesis is good, your experimental setup is good, your draw conclusion is good, and then your report or your thesis is good. So we now finish a first phase of the research methodology analysis. Okay. So next we go to the second phase, which is hypothesis. Okay, and we see the definitions. The hypothesis is what the researchers predict the relation between two or more variables, but it involves more than a guess most of the time, the hypothesis begins with a question which is then explored through background research. So this is a definition. This is a definition. We see later, one by one, what is the step in the hypothesis. What is the hypothesis step? And then the hypothesis begins after you finish the analysis phase. Means that after you identify the problems, and then after you design the research objective, what next is a research hypothesis. And what is the hypothesis? So I conclude that I could summarize that hypothesis phase has 1 to 3 steps. First is specify solutions, and then you have to define factor and postulate a performance matrix. Okay, specify solution to what? Specify solution to the research objective, so that the problem statement could be solved. Okay, and then define factor. You have to define the factor, the parameter, the experimental conditions, so that the objective of the research achieved. So when the objective of research achieved means that the problem solved. Okay, postulate performance metric. How to measure the performance of the investigation. So it means the postulate performance metric is a performance measure. How to measure the investigation? If the investigation, the measurement, if the result of the measurement is good, so mean that the research objective achieved, and the problem solved. The problem statement solved. Okay. Oh, I cannot. I have to stop for a while. I have a problem with the PC. I have to stop for a while. Okay. First, we see step 1. Step 1 is a specify problem, as I told you before. Specify problem means we need to find the solution to solve the solution to achieve the objective. So this is a specify solution. We until now we already have a three, for example, 3 research objective, and specify solution in the hypothesis space is we try to find solution to achieve the objective. And we have to identify also the experiment to test the solutions. We now have a solution with, for example, we have a set of solutions that contain mathematical information, that contain so how to test that solution? We need experiment to test the solution. And it's not only one solution. We need to have several different solutions, because why? If we have several solutions, we can do a comparison. We can do a comparison, and we can pick the best solution for the objective. So this is the specified solution. And then again, I want to remind you that all this information, solution, experiment, several solution, where to find this? This could be found also from the literature review, from reading of the previous research article published by the researcher. And then step 2 in the hypothesis space is you have to define the factor. What is the factor? You need to understand what is the factor. The factor is the parameter and the condition environment. What is the specification of the system for the solutions? And condition environment, condition is specification of the environment. And then this one is related to the experiment. Condition is related to the experiment, and parameters also relate with the experiment and also the theoretical. What is the specification of the system, and condition is a specification of the environment. Okay. Step 2 is from the complete list of the solution, of the factor, choose the factor. Choice must be justified. The duration and realistic. Okay. Because why? From the literature review or literature search conducted, you got so many factors. You got so many solutions. Okay? You got so many solutions. You got so many factors. Factors has two things. First is parameter. You got so many parameter. Factors has condition. You got so many condition. From you list it, and from the listing, you do screening and choose a suitable solution, or choose a suitable factor, and you must have a justification. The example justification is here is a duration and realistics. Look at your final year project duration is only 1 year. It's only 1 year, and then for the experiment it's only 6 months. For the proposal is 6 months. So you choose the factor that is suitable for your project durations. Okay, and then realistic also one of the important criteria. Probably realistic relate with budgeting, for example. Okay, and then if we compare with final year projects, final year projects or undergraduate project with master degree project, of course, the duration of the master degree longer than the final year projects. Final projects only 1 year, master degree is 2 years, and doctoral degree is 3 years. So you must have a justification. First, duration, and second is realistic. For example, a doctoral degree or master degree, the projects sometimes come from the industry. So industry, they have a funding, they have a lot of money, but under final projects, you do not have a funding, you do not have the projects not come from the industry. So please also think about the realistic. If you want to buy an expensive sensor for the final project, maybe it's not suitable. But for the doctoral or master degree, if the student want to buy an expensive sensor, for example, if suitable, if they have their project is funded by the industry, because the duration is longer than the final project. So this is the thing that you need to that you can use for the justification to choose the solution, to choose the factor. Okay, and then step 3 in the hypothesis is postulate performance metrics. So this is performance measure. After conducting, first you have a problem, and second you have a research objective, and then you create the hypothesis. How to measure the finding from your investigation, whether is it okay or not, whether your objective is achieved or not. This is a postulate for a performance metric. So performance metric is a postulate that transforms the result into measures performance for drawing conclusion about the objective. Okay, so you need to have the method. You need to have the method how to measure everything about your investigation for you to draw the conclusion. Okay? Probably in the first step, you choose the solution, you choose the factor. In the second step, I don't remember, in the second step, you list it, and then you got so many solutions, you got so many factors, you do screening, you reduce the numbers, you choose the solution, and you choose the factor that is suitable for your study. The last one is you have to design the performance measure. How to measure the performance of your investigation for you to evaluate whether your research objectives achieved or not. So this is meant by the postulate performance metric. So hypothesis and analysis and hypothesis is very important, and normally the student complete analysis and hypothesis in the first semester. Plus one more phase is planning. Analysis, hypothesis, and planning, student must complete it in the first semester, and at our faculty, students have to present it to the evaluation panel. Okay? And then this statement has relation with the step 3, required to establish what to measure, and then finally used to conclude about the objective. Okay, the important of postulate performance metrics. Why we need a performance metric? Because we want to conclude about the objective. We want to measure back our objective, whether our objective is achieved or not. What happens if your objective is not achieved? Your research objective that you design in the analysis space is not achieved. If it is not achieved, means that you cannot solve the research problem. Okay? If you cannot solve the research problem, means that your report is failed. It's failed. You are proposing something, but in the end, the thing that you propose cannot solve the problem. Okay? Probably it still has a value, even your proposal, your report cannot solve the problem, still have a value, so that the future student do not do the same with you. It still has a value. So that's why in research there is no right or wrong. In research there is no right or wrong. Even if you do a wrong thing, it could be used as a reference for the future student, so that do not do the same with you. Okay. And then now we finish the analysis phase. The first phase is analysis. The second phase is hypothesis. So this is very important phase. Very important phase for you to produce a good research proposal plus research plan. How to plan the research? You successfully analyze you successfully finish the analysis phase. You successfully finish the hypothesis phase. So what next? Next is how to plan it. How to plan. And then this is the sample, the example only. For me, I always advise my student, after finish analysis phase and hypothesis phase, please do a milestone. Do a milestone. Or create a Gantt chart. So at our faculty, Gantt chart is a must. It's a must. Students have to show the Gantt chart to the evaluation panel. It's not only a proposal, but they must promise to the panel with a milestone when to start, what to do first, and when to finish. For example, this is a research planning. This is example only. You can do the research planning in many ways. For me, I want to share with you the example is by using Gantt chart. If you look at the first column here is planning. Under planning, this is a research activity. Start with literature review, and then because this project relate with the image processing capturing leads by using webcam. I think this project is related to the identification of leads movement or leads reading by using image processing. And then literature review, image processing, capturing lead by using webcam, and then image processing, analyze image information, recognition and testing, develop 3D model of lead using Quest 3D, publication, start writing thesis, and thesis. Okay? So write everything here. You write everything here, starting from the literature review, when to start January 2013, when to finish November, okay? And then when to start writing the report, or some department call it as a thesis. You will start writing the thesis starting from November until December, 2 months, for example, here. And then when to submit it, February 2014. So this is a research planning. All plans to conduct your research is tabulated in this table or Gantt chart. So you must have a plan. So remember, first do the analysis, second do the hypothesis, and third is planning. Plan when to do, when to finish, what to do. Okay? And this is the second last piece, which is experiment. So we still have 20 minutes to go. 20 minutes to go. Remaining 20 minutes. I think I will cover this 20 minutes with the experiment and the validation. Okay, experiment. First one is the analysis phase. You already finished the analysis and the evaluation panel approve it. The second phase is experiment, is a hypothesis phase. You already present your hypothesis to the panel evaluation, and then they approve it. Planning. You tabulate or you gather all information, all the milestone in the Gantt chart, and then the evaluation panel approve it. The practice at our department, this 1, 2, 3, analysis, hypothesis, and planning is under first semester. The second semester, students start with the experiment. How to conduct the experiment, how to set up the experiment. Of course, you have to refer to the literature review. Okay? Experiment setup need to be referred to the literature review, need to be referred to the previous article published by the researcher. Okay? Parameter. What is the parameter for the experiment? You already define it in the hypothesis space. Should be no problem. Huh? How many subjects that you want to use for data collection? You already define it in the hypothesis. Okay? Of course, hypothesis also, the resource of the hypothesis is the article of the previous publication by the previous researcher. How many trial? Data collection. How many trial for one subject? How many trial that you want to collect, you want to collect data? Also decided in the hypothesis. Number of data also decided in the hypothesis. Simulation or laboratory also decided in the hypothesis. So in the experiment, everything, most of the parameters, most of the condition clear already because you have already decided in the hypothesis space. Okay, in the experiment phase, it has 4 steps. It has 4 steps. The first step is implementation solution. Implement solution. The second step is design experiment. The third step is conduct experiment. And then the fourth step, the last step is the analyze result. We see one by one. Step 1, implement solution. Implement solution to test the hypothesis. Again, the hypothesis terminology appear. Because everything related to the theoretical, related to the experiment, you already investigated it, you already decided it in the hypothesis. Why you need to implement solution in the experiment to test the hypothesis? So there are 3 methods. There are 3 methods to test the hypothesis or to design the experiment. We call it as a 1 is acquire, 2 is a construct, or a combination of both. Number 3 is a combination of both. We see detail one by one. What is the acquire method? What is the construct method? And what is the combination method? Okay, the acquire method is a quick solutions. Less number of sensor, less number of subject, and etc. Because in the literature review, when you conduct a literature review, instead you gather information about the usage of sensor. For example, a good researcher, maybe they use more sensors. Okay? Not good researcher, but the researcher that has it's not good or not good researcher, but if the researcher has a funding from the industry, for example, or has a research grant, probably they can use more sensor or more subjects. Okay? But for the researcher that do not have funding or do not have a research grant, probably they use less number of sensor, less number of subjects. Okay, by looking at the situation here, you can know the maximum number of sensor that was used by the previous researcher, probably 100. And the less number of sensor, that used by the previous researcher from the literature review, probably 10. So it has a range. A researcher that has funding, probably they have 100 number of sensor, and a researcher that has no funding or that has no research grant, probably they use only 10 sensor. So quick solution means that use less number of sensor, less budget type of sensor use. Okay, again, if the researcher is funded by the industry, probably they will use expensive sensor. But if the researcher that do not have funding or research grant, they use cheaper sensor. And acquire method may not meet requirement. Of course, may not meet requirement. And then all the sources must come from the literature review or benchmarking. And then for me, for the undergraduate level, final year project purpose, probably suitable to use acquire acquire method. Because for the master degree or doctoral degree level, normally their research is funded by the industry or they have a research grant, probably suitable for them to use construct method. Acquire method, again, acquire method suitable for the final year projects because the duration of the final year project lesser than the duration of the doctoral degree or master level. So we see the construct project, of course, construct projects different from the acquire projects, complete solutions, okay? Custom made to meet the requirement, okay? Time consuming, okay? Expensive, may meet requirement. Of course, the source must come from the literature review or benchmarking. Okay? I think now you understand what is the acquire method and what is the construct method. And which method is suitable for the final year projects. Because final year projects, you have a limitation in terms of first is duration, you have only 1 year, and then research funding. Research funding from the industry or research grant, they fund the project for the longer duration, for the doctoral research, or the master research. Then three methods. First is acquire, second is construct, or a combination of both acquire and construct. Then a combination also suitable for the higher level degree or higher level study like master or PhD or doctoral. Okay, step 2. Step 1 is solutions. We try to implement solutions. Step 2 is a design experiment. Design experiment, okay, to design a series of experiments. So this one also, the information coming from the hypothesis, whether the experiment is a single experiment or a series experiment. How to find the information, how to verify whether the information is a single information or single experiment or series experiment, it's come from the literature review. It's come from the articles published by the previous researcher. What is the experimental protocol? This one is also very important. For example, if you want to measure a brain signal related to the emotion, you try to classify the emotional state of the subject, the human, based on the brain signal. It must have a protocol. You must refer to the existing research experimental protocol. You have to read the article published by the previous researcher. So do not say that there is no information about the previously by the previous researcher. If there is no proof or if there is no article published by the previous researcher, means that the research topics or the research problem has no significance. So that's why no one conduct the research before, because less significant. It's not significant at all to be conducted, to be researched. So how many experimental trials in the design experiment? Okay, we already decide this in the hypothesis. Okay, for example, to recognize emotion based on facial expressions. Is it enough by using only one trial, one capturing, only one trial, or 2 trial, or 3 trial, or 3 trial, or 10 trial, or 100 trial? So which trial is good, is optimal? This one also we already decide in the hypothesis. It's come from the literature reading. So how to manage data? Make sure that you know how to manage data before you conduct the experiment. Where to save the data. Okay, planning, update to the Gantt charts. Okay, again, after you plan the experiment, if you had something in the previous Gantt chart, changes, so you have to update the Gantt chart. Report to the supervisor. This is very important. Every time when you finish the experiment, report to your supervisor. Report and discuss with the supervisor. Okay? Get the approval. Report, discuss, and getting the approval from the supervisor before you proceed with the next experiment. And then source, of course, literature review and benchmarking. So design the protocol. Protocol is a step-by-step procedure to be followed during preparation and conduct of experiment. The new protocol or enhanced protocol could be a significant contribution to the research. Okay? And then for the FYP level, for the undergraduate level, you just follow the protocol, the research experimental protocol produced or introduced by the previous researcher. But even in the undergraduate level, in the 4-year FYP, if you're able to introduce a new protocol, or you're able to enhance protocol, this could be a significant contribution to the research. Probably you can proceed your study from undergraduate to higher level like master degree. If you're able to introduce a new protocol or able to enhance protocol. Experimental trial. What is experimental trial? We have discussed before. Repetitive data collection process. Sample is more than one, and then sample must be more than one, because we cannot draw the conclusion if only one sampling. Sampling process is more than one. Okay? And then of course, experimental trial also in the hypothesis, you need to do the decision how many trial. This one must be benchmarked with the previous article published by the previous researcher. Okay, data management, very important. One of the important steps in experimental, to record all experimental data, maintain log data, where to keep, which file is for what. You have to protect data. Verify data is correct before proceed to the trial. So this one is the last one is interesting, because why? For example, you have to do data collection to collect data for 10 subjects. So now is the term of the first subject. And one subject needs to do 20 trials. For example, the first trial, after collecting data from the subject, please verify that the data is correct before you proceed with the second trial, or before you proceed with the next subject, and before you proceed with the last subjects. This is very important, because if you do not verify it, and if the experimental setup, for example, is not right, it's wrong, and data also wrong. So you have to redo the experiment again and again and again. And step 3 is conduct the experiment. Now you have to do the experiment, you have to conduct the experiment. Time to follow your plan, refer back to the Gantt chart. Okay? Refer back to the Gantt chart. So when to start, when to finish. Okay. And then analyze data before completing experiment. If data are correct, the measurement and protocol also correct. Okay? And if it doesn't run well, stop and revise stop and revise, probably revision to the protocol, probably revision to the device, probably revision to the installation, and this might be many possibilities. Conduct the experiment at our department started in the second semester. So the fourth step, the last step. So this is the last step. I think this is the last step. Okay, the last step. Conduct the analysis as proposed in the hypothesis space. Please do not conduct the analysis by not looking at the hypothesis space. Everything that you do the analysis must follow what already been done in the hypothesis space. Present result in graph. Determine the easiest way for reader to understand the finding. Try to reduce the result. So here, what I want to say is try to reduce the result, because we know in the investigation, in the experiment, you collect so many data. You collect so many data. So try to reduce the data, or try to reduce the result, so that you can, so that the reader could easily understand the finding. Means that you have to present the data in form of graph, for example. Okay? Draw the conclusion from the result. Then report to your supervisor. This is one of the important activity. Anything that you find from the investigation, reported it to the supervisor, discuss with them. Compare the result with the other researcher, and then validate the result. So validate the result. That result validation is the last phase in the research methodology. So validations. So we got 10 more minutes. 10 more minutes. This is the last phase. The last phase, validation. Because why? We do the investigation, we do the analysis, we do the hypothesis, we do planning, we design the experiment, we run the experiment, we draw the conclusion, and then the finding need to be validated. The finding need to be validated. Even though we declare that from the performance measure, it showed that the objective achieved. From the result, it showed that the objective achieved. But we still need to validate that the finding is correct. A measure performance metric as decided in the hypothesis. Okay, in the hypothesis, if you remember, postulate a performance metric, what kind of method to measure the performance, we already decide it in the hypothesis. So use the proposed method that we already decided. Okay. A performance metric may need to be revised if the performance metrics as proposed in the hypothesis is not suitable. It's not suitable and do not validate the hypothesis. Need to be revised. It need to be revised. So draw conclusion based on the result of performance measure. You have to draw the conclusion. Peer review. For the FYP, I think for the final year projects, a discussion with the supervisor possible. Okay? Peer review, validation. The supervisor will can validate your results, and then your thesis or your report is evaluated by the panel. Right? So panel also the examination of the thesis can be a validation process. Huh? And then you have to present your final presentation, the finding of your project to the evaluation panel. This also can be suitable for the validation process. Conference, symposium, seminar. This is for the higher level degree, for masters or for the doctoral. High impact index journal, non-impact index journal. This one is for the higher level study, like masters and doctoral degree. Okay, that's all for phases under research methodology. The first one is analysis, second one is hypothesis, the third one is planning, the fourth one is experimental, and the last one is validation. And here, before we end, I'd like to share with you how to update your research. How to update your research. You can use research website or research database website like Scopus. Okay, I think all of you know about Scopus. If you do not know, you can Google what is Scopus, because in Scopus, they will create a list, a rank. For example, in your university or in your faculty, you are number what? Okay? You are number what in terms of the publications. For example, how many papers that you publish? Out of 1,000 staff, you are number 10. Okay, you are number 20. Okay? This kind of listing could give a motivation to the researcher to work harder, to do more publication, for example. And then research. This is a research gate. Research gate. I think if you do not know what is the research gate, you can Google after this. Research gate also is one of the site so that you can store your research information. For example, how many paper that you already published, and then the score. Research gate produce score. For example, here 23.76. This is your research score. Okay. So that if you register with this kind of site, you know where are you now. What are the score in your department? What is the highest score, and then what is your score, so that you can benchmark where are you now? This also can give you a motivation for you to work harder to publish more paper. Okay, and then Google Scholar also, by using Google Scholar, we can know the citation. Citation is how many people who refer to your articles. How many people or how many researchers that refer to your article. And then by using Google Scholar also, we can know in your department, for example, in your batch, for example, how many, what is the highest citation, who is the highest citation, and then what is your citation number, so that we can know where we are now, compare with the highest citation number. And then, of course, the last one is a resume or CV. You must always update your CV. Even for final year student also, you have always to update your CV. Put the research element on that on the CV, so that when you want to go for job application, you can show your research, your progress in research to the interviewer. Okay? Always updating your CV. Okay, that's all from me, and thanks for listening. I think it took about one hour, more than 1 hour. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. It's nice.
Okay.
It's nice and very helpful for our students.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. So that's all the sharing from me.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay.
Sure.
Sir, we already had a plan to meet in India during 2019, but not able to meet you.
Yes, before COVID-19.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll meet again, sir. We'll meet again.
Yes. Okay, I think I don't know whether do you have a postgraduate student at your university?
Okay, sir.
A master's and PhD student?
Okay, sir.
No.
No, sir. We have ME students. We have for 3 branches, sir.
Okay. Okay. So, thank you very much again.
Thank you, sir. Let me propose my vote of thanks, sir.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Let's proceed.
A grace and warm morning to all. It's almost noon. Let us be grateful to people who make us very happy with their knowledge. They are the charming gardeners who make our souls blossom. Respected Principal, Honorable Chief Guest Dr. Khairunizam, Dr. S. Vijayakumar, dear faculty members, and dear student friends. It's my privilege to propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge the contribution of those who worked really hard to make this day happen. I, on behalf of SRIT and the entire fraternity of the college, first of all, I extend my sincere thanks to the Lord God. On behalf of management, principal, faculty members, and student friends, I extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the chief guest, Mr. Khairunizam, who has spared his time from his busy schedule to grace this occasion. Thank you, sir, for your very thoughtful, provoking presentation and making this lecture very meaningful and interesting. I would like to express a deep gratitude to our principal for constantly supporting us in all endeavors. With a deep sense of affection, I thank our principal for his untiring efforts. I would like to thank our beloved HOD, Dr. S. Vijayakumar sir, for his guidance and moral support for the department to organize this program. I am happy to express the vote of thanks to our staff members who have made this event a grand success with their constant support. Finally, I thank the wonderful students participated in this event. It is your cooperation that made this day a very memorable one. Thank you very much for your cooperation. Once again, I thank you all for cordial cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, Prof. Is it event finished now?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. So.
Let us